This video is for educational use only. Your experience may vary. As store owner, you've prepared your product and the layout of your shop. You've ordered your shelving and you're waiting for them to arrive. When discussing shipping with your salesman, be sure to inform them if you have a truck height dock or if you'll need a lift gate instead. Lift gates require an additional cost. While the pallets are brought in, let's learn about each of the different pieces required to build your shelving. Base brackets combine with uprights. Rails create the skeleton of your shelving to hold it together. Pegboards provide rigidity and allows you to hang your product. Base fronts stabilize each section. Decks are a bottom shelving for the product. Shelves are for your product. Splicers will be required for two-piece setups. This video covers the two-piece setup. The one-piece setup is much simpler. Your order will vary, but this is an option for organizing your shelving components, making the build easier and more efficient. Shelving was engineered to be built without any tools. However, we've discovered these tools help the building process go faster. Now that the pieces are organized, it's time to measure the distance for the first aisle setup based on your store layout. Make sure to mark the placement for your first upright using a marker or pencil. First, take one upright and two base brackets. Base brackets have prongs on one end that line up with slots on the uprights. If necessary, secure the base brackets by using the mallet. Now that all the uprights and base brackets are together, lay the uprights out down the length of the floor, starting with the mark you made after measuring. This is a representation of the first aisle. Next, insert a bottom rail between the first pair of uprights. All rails have tabs that slide into the uprights. If the rail has tabs that won't fit, use pliers to adjust the tabs. Make sure to use the notch that lines up with the top of the base brackets so the pegboard fits properly. Note, if you have a single piece setup, center should be installed with bottoms. While still holding the uprights with the bottom rail installed, slide two smaller sized pieces of pegboard into the uprights from the top. The bottom rails have grooves where the pegboard will rest after sliding it all the way down. Putting pegboard in the first section will help stabilize the following sections. Make sure the paint side of the pegboard is facing out. Pegboard can be easily damaged, so remember to handle it with care. Now take a splicer rail and insert it into the uprights using the notches just above the first two pieces of pegboard. The pegboard should fit snug against the splicer rail and its grooves. All splicers have tabs that may need to be adjusted to fit into the uprights properly. Next, we use the remaining uprights and bottom rails to build the rest of this aisle. Something to note, each additional section attaches to the previous upright. You do not need to use two new uprights to create a new section. After the bottom rails are secured, it's time to add the smaller pegboard for each of the new sections. Remember, it's important to slide the pegboard from the top down. Make sure the splicer rail holds the pegboards in its grooves. Now that you've secured all your sections with bottom rails, small size pegboard, and splicer rails, make sure each section is level. Start by tying a plumb line or string to the first and last upright to reveal where your sections are uneven. Adjust the base brackets to make sure that the string or plumb line you stretched out is level from one side to the other. Use the crescent wrench to adjust the bottom screws on the uprights and base brackets. WD-40 may be necessary to help loosen the screws. Once your shelving is level, you can slide your base fronts in from the top of the base brackets. There is a gap at the front of the base brackets that you slide the base fronts in. It's time to build the top half of this two-piece setup. If needed, lightly tap the center rails into the notches on the uprights with the mallet. Note, center rails have tabs and may need to be adjusted with pliers to fit. If you have a single piece setup, center rail should be installed at the same time as the bottom rails. Next, you need to place the larger sections of pegboard on both the back and front of each section. Note, make sure that you've installed the center rails. If you haven't, your shelving may not fit together properly. Top rails are the last piece needed to stabilize shelving. Take each top rail and check the tabs to make sure they will fit in the top of the upright and over the pegboard. If you have trouble, lightly tap the top rails with the mallet. Now put the decks onto the base brackets. Each deck has a notch on the back that lines up with a peg in the base brackets. Place the deck at a 45-degree angle, line up with the notch on the deck and both base brackets, then set it down on the base brackets. After all the decks are installed, be sure to check the decks and see that they are level. Finally, we can install the shelves. Shelves fit into the upright similarly to the decks. Place the hooks at a 45-degree angle into the upright, then lower it down to lock it in place. Make sure shelves are in corresponding holes on each side to ensure a level surface. Base bracket covers are installed by sliding them straight down on top of the base brackets, just like the fronts. The final piece for shelving is only required if you purchased it from your salesman. Slide the end trim down the upright. Congratulations! You've built your shelving. If If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to call your salesperson for further help. If you'd like to see us make another video, let us know in the comments below. This has been a Fix Your Finders how-to video. We hope you enjoyed it.